So there are some issues that are taking place within our communities, and we need to start paying attention to them because they do have some profound effects on our communities. The first is urban sprawl, which is defined as the expansion of human populations away from urban centers into smaller communities. Um, the biggest issue with this is as our population grows, people are moving out of these urban areas and into these smaller suburban communities. And this creates a ton of issues for those communities, environmental issues, such as climate change, waste production, destruction of natural habitats, air pollution. As the infrastructure of our country has changed and improved, it's made it easier for individuals to move out of these cities and urban areas and into these smaller, quieter communities, and to commute back into the city on a daily basis. So while these improvements have been helpful for those individuals, it also has created some issues, such as air quality control issues. Obviously, the more people that are commuting in and out, the more emissions there are emitted into the air. And this can lead to all different types of issues, especially health issues, respiratory problems, asthma, cardiovascular disease. Another issue is the loss of habitat, natural habitat for wildlife. So as these people begin to move into these suburban communities and begin to build up and make use of the land that is there, they're essentially taking away the natural habitat for the wildlife that exists there. This is obviously creating problems there, and even driving some of these animals to the brink of extinction. There are a few possible solutions to urban sprawl, and the most feasible would be to use what is already there in these areas. So some areas have buildings or buildings that need repair or that just aren't being used, and these could be rebuilt in order to house these people that are moving into these areas rather than to build up on unused land. This would especially help with the natural habitat for the wildlife, and just reusing and revitalizing what's already there. Another issue that our communities are facing is gentrification. And gentrification is usually comes with a negative connotation to it. So this is usually thought to be wealthy, usually white individuals moving into these urban areas, and building up or investing in the buildings and the infrastructure of these neighborhoods. But in turn, when they do that, they are increasing the rent, the property value. They are bringing in different types of individuals that the neighborhoods weren't previously bringing in. So sometimes these low income, ethnically diverse neighborhoods are all of a sudden being revitalized by these wealthy individuals, and then they can no longer afford to live in their own neighborhood because of the revitalization and the increase in the rent and the property value. So as you can see, for those who are living in that area that's being revitalized, it could be really devastating and life-changing to have someone come in and change all of that. So according to the Brookings Institute, the actual definition is the process by which higher income households displace significant numbers of lower income residents of a neighborhood, changing the essential character and flavor of the neighborhood. So some solutions to this, it really needs to take place at a higher systemic level. So unfortunately, this is not something that a few people can do just to, try to fix this in their neighborhood. It really takes place at a level of elected officials, demanding affordable housing. So if people are being allowed to come in and revitalize or rebuild in a neighborhood, to show up to these public meetings and demand from your elected officials that affordable housing is available, and that they're using the appropriate income levels to determine what is truly affordable housing. So, by looking at the people that are already living there and reserving some of the housing for those people so that they can afford to stay in their own neighborhood. In South LA, there was a situation where the residents of that neighborhood began to protest and speak out and demand things from their elected officials because many of the homes and buildings in their neighborhood were bank-owned homes, and they were in poor condition. They were being left for years on end, just really bringing down the value of all the other homes and businesses and properties in the area. And they were successful in passing legislation that required the banks to pay a $1,000 a day fine for every day that they owned a home that was in poor condition. So you can imagine how quickly those banks, got to work revitalizing and ensuring that they were no longer, blighted home in the area. So these are two really big issues that are affecting a lot of communities, and they'll take a lot of work, a lot of dedication from people in different communities that are being affected. But I do believe that it is something that that we can make a change.